Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of Firearms Training Facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. And we are live from the range where we cover a lot of different topics each week. And we're glad you're here. Let me switch over to Instagram real quick. A little bit of an issue with it trying to connect because we are live on Instagram, we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and we are live on Rumble. Looks like we may not be live on Instagram. Give me a second here. Okay. All right. Well, we won't be on Instagram tonight. I'm sorry about that, folks. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing wonderful this evening. We have a great night. We've been working on the trailer. Hey, Aaron, how are you doing, buddy? Good seeing you. Hope business is good. Thank you for being here this evening. We've had a great week so far. I'm kind of excited because this weekend is open weekend at the bow hunting. So this opening weekend of archery season starts this Saturday, and my butt's gonna be in the tree somewhere trying to put a nice buck down or something like that. And you're gonna come along with me. I've got all the camera equipment and everything else like that. I'm gonna try to, as if bow hunting isn't hard enough, I'm gonna try to take you guys along with me back my journey to the woods. As of this morning, I'm 34 or 35 pounds down. Still walking the 3 miles a day and still getting up at 5 o'clock every morning. Trying to become healthier and and bring us some jerky. You got it, buddy. You got it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I've made jerky before. It's not too hard to do, but I'll try to. Uh, Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, so tonight we've got a nice little a thing. This comes from people who are sending me requests in regards to what's the best pistol for me. And I've done a bunch of videos on this, but I wanted to cover more of the mistakes that new pistol owners do than physically what's the best pistol for me. So I took a list, and obviously we kind of play 10 every time, 10 reasons and what's the story on it and everything else. Like, so when buying your first pistol, a new gun owner off makes a lot of mistakes. Or, I give you an example. About 2 months ago, young lady, she was in her 70s. She went out to Bass Pro, and she was told by her neighbor, which was a man, that women can't shoot a semi automatic pistol and that she should buy a revolver. So she went out to Bass Pro, and the guy at Bass Pro showed her a Smith and Wesson. I can't remember what it was now, but it was one of the high end revolvers from Smith& Wesson. It was like $900 for a 2.5 inch, 357, wooden handles. It was a beautiful don't get me wrong, beautiful piece. It was, double action, so it had, chrome, and it was beautiful. Well, she couldn't pull the trigger. She could not pull the trigger. And she had a real problem with her hands to begin with. So even if we could convince her into cocking it each time, she was having problems with cocking it as well. And that kind of put us in a position. So she came here, and I asked her, did she get to touch it? And she said, well, the salesman showed it to me. I said, did you try to pull the trigger? And she told me that Bass Pro Shop would not take the zip tie off of it, to allow her to engage the trigger. And I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh." Well, guess what I ended up with in the store, and guess what she ended up with? A Smith& and Wesson EZ, and she was able to rack it, she was able to load it, she was able to do everything she wanted to, and she really decided at that point in time that she was mad at the salesman because the salesman sold her something that she thought that, uh that this that she thought he oversold her, and I just said, "No, just, some people have that concept that women can't rack a senior woman." The revolvers are simplistic, don't get me wrong, I mean, they're pretty simple and pretty easy to use, but technically, I would never recommend a revolver for a woman for their first piece. I don't say a revolver is not gonna work. I think it's gonna work fine, but you got lower capacity laws. There's a lot of different stuff that's there that a semi-automatic will work perfectly for you. So today we are talking about when buyers buy their first pistol, new gun owners make some common mistakes. So I wrote this real quick and I wanted to kind of give it to you. When the buyers first yeah, yeah, you're definitely right. The Easy is probably the best for you and your wife. Yeah, she does love that thing. I appreciate that, Aaron. When you're buying your first pistol, the excitement of owning a firearm can sometimes overshadow the importance of making an informed decision. With many first time gun buyers navigating this overwhelming variety of options, last weekend was a gun show, the weekend before was a gun show. People go out to these gun shows and they get themselves, what the heck am I looking at? I sell more training classes at gun shows than try to sell guns at gun shows because people need to make a decision, a proper decision of buying a pistol is shooting it first, getting to understand it, getting the grip and the stance and the trigger control. That all goes along with owning the pistol. Um, um, I'm sorry, I lost my place. What overwhelming options and features that can lead to costly mistakes. Whether you're choosing the wrong caliber, focusing on the wrong aesthetics with the purchase, in this guide, it will explore the most common mistakes new firearm owners make while buying their first pistol and offer insights on how to avoid them to ensure you're selecting the right firearm for your needs. There we go. Beautiful. So I thought I'd cover each one of these a little bit, and I would welcome you to make comments if you'd like. We're not going to go back to the comments until after the presentation, but we will definitely go back and make sure that we say hello and goodbye to each person. You are the reason why we do this. We specialize in you guys. We specialize in the first time shooter. We specialize in you, and we want to make sure that you're comfortable when you're buying what you need and what you want. We have people be visiting our YouTube channel on a regular basis that are first time shooters, maybe never owned a pistol before, and that's kind of our cup of tea, really. Well, if you know what you're doing and you can be proficient pretty well, but we have tips and tricks on our YouTube channel that cover a lot of different stuff. There are plenty of playlists, guys, to get you more accurate with a pistol, and we cover all that each week and each Tuesday. But definitely, 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 that first time buyer is somewhat overwhelmed. When you go to the big shows, guys, there could be 5,000 tables in this room, right? And each one of those tables has multiple firearms on there. And if you're just looking at what's the difference between A, B, C, and D, really is overwhelming what feels good, what looks good, what's tactically look good. So, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff. So let's go ahead and start with number one. And number one would be choosing the wrong caliber. Many beginners start selecting a powerful caliber like a 45 ACP or a 40 Smith& and Wesson, thinking the bigger the better. Bigger caliber, better. And however, starting with a manageable caliber like a 9 millimeter offers easier recoil management, affordability, and more options. Guys, listen to me. The sheriff's department in our area here in Lee County and FBI all went back to 9 millimeter. And the FBI used to use 40s, and the Highway Patrol used to use 45s. And our sheriff's department here for many, many years did the 40. Then they went to the 45, the sheriff's department, for a few years, and then they all switched back to 9 millimeter. And they figured out why they were doing that. We gave extra calibers. You could get 3 to 4 more bullets in a magazine with a 9 millimeter versus a 40, and probably one more with a 45 versus a 40. But where the real thing was, and the FBI did a whole big old synopsis of why they went back to 9 millimeter from the 40 Smith and Wesson. And the very bottom last paragraph, qualifications went up 75% when they were using 9 millimeter over a 45. And the FBI went to a large percentage of a large force of women that are working for the force and people with smaller hands and things like that. And they were having qualification problems. The men and women were having qualification problems. When they dropped down to a 9 millimeter, the qualifications went back up and they were able to be okay with it without running into any problems. So, if the United States military, most of the sheriff's departments, highway patrols, and the police departments in our area are all using 9 millimeter. I don't see why you wouldn't want to use a 9 millimeter. Now you're going to get the poo poos out there that say, "Well, the 9 millimeter just bounce off, or a 22 will just bounce off." Every time someone says, "I like to put one on them and see if it bounces off," it doesn't bounce off. Listen, I've killed a lot of animals in my life, deer hunting, and I have shot a few with a 22, and they're just as dead as with a with a big caliber. It's not about the caliber. It's more about shot placement. And if we're talking about a 9 millimeter, then I can put them all in a circle, small circle like that. Or if we're going to go 45 or 40, our groups start to widen up a little bit, and recoil management becomes a little bit more challenging for me because of the recoil in the weapon. So, yeah, you do you, boo. Whatever you want to shoot is you. But when the first time shooters, we never recommend anything over a 9 millimeter, and we don't recommend anything less than a 9 millimeter. So for 22, 25s, all those, even 380, I would stay. If you could shoot a 380, ladies or gentlemen, you could shoot a 9 millimeter. Same circle, just a little more powder. And really, when you get down to a small pistol, which majority of women want these, the concept is the husband comes in and asks for a small pistol, or the wife is asking for a small pistol. And I think they think small pistol, small recoil, but we've already discussed this. Small pistol, less real estate, more recoil. So those small pistols kick just as big as uh, a big pistol. So when you are working on the caliber, your very first caliber should always be a 9 mil. When I've trained somebody, there's a misconception. Let's start you out with a 22 and then build you to a 9 millimeter. The problem with that is if I let some woman or man who's never shot a pistol before shoot a 22 first, no matter what I put in your hand, 25 and up, it's going to seem like it's got a lot of recoil. That's why we always shoot down, not up. So if you got a child or a kid or anything else, I understand shooting 22. That's fine, wonderful. Eight, probably I would say 10 years old and less. 10 years old and less, I'm okay with shooting with a 22. That's fine, wonderful. But we do. Speaking of the kids, I just put out our October's pumpkin shoot. We always do our kid shootouts once a month in the fall, and our very first one's coming up on the 26th of October, and it's our pumpkin shootout where we put cans out and we put little styrofoam pumpkins out, and we build a pumpkin patch, and we invite 5 kids in at 9:45, 10, 15, and 11:45. There's 5 groups, 5 kids, and they get to shoot the pumpkin patch. It's on our website. If you're local, get your kids signed up for it. We give them weapons, we give them ammo, we give them safety briefing. My family's involved in it. And then what we do is we take the parents and have the parents help the kids at the very end. It's a fun time, and they get a little bit of trick or treat that day too. So we'd love to have the kids get an opportunity. Visit our website where the kids' pumpkin shootout is already up, ready to rock and roll, and ready to be signed. And it's $35 per kid. And that includes the weapon, that includes the ammo. All they got to do is show up and have some fun. And we'll walk through our safety and everything else like that. So choosing the wrong caliber is number one. Number two is ignoring proper fit. This is kind of one of those deals where it happens an awful lot for women. Husband goes to the store. He buys himself a Glock 19, and then he brings it home for them, and she can't get her hand all the way to get that trigger finger. So now we have to adjust our finger and get our hand deeper into the gun. Fitness is one of those things you can't, if you wear a size 15 shoe and size 11s are on sale. Sorry, it ain't gonna fit. It ain't gonna fit. And the same thing is, guys, when you try to buy a gun for you and get mama to like it, we have very limited time, right? If if obviously there's a lot of women who love to shoot. Miss Johnson, my beautiful bride, she is a shooter. She loves to shoot. She doesn't do it enough, but she loves to do it. We had our our uh our club thing we did last month. She was second place almost every week. We can't win because we are running the club. But my oldest son, Johnny, Jacob, we all get involved in it, and it was kind of fun. But she loved competing, so that's part of the deal. But there are some women who aren't. They're not. It's not their cup of tea. Now, women, you don't have to teach them much. You just got to get them to get comfortable with the weapon. They have situational awareness. They have Mama Bear inside of them. All we got to get them to run the tool, and the tool is one of those things. But gentlemen, if you're trying to give them something that's too big, it's like you wearing a shoe 3 times smaller. It's too small. Think about this. If you want her to shoot and be comfortable, find something that fits her hand. And the only way to do that is get her to the range and let her try a couple pistols. And guess who has to try before you buy? We do. And you can always do that. Now, obviously, guys, I know this is going all over the United States and some over Europe and places like that where they don't get to shoot. But anytime you can shoot a pistol before you buy it, it's the best option for you. Best option for you. So, let me see. Some buyers pick a gun that doesn't fit their hand well. Poor fit can affect shooting accuracy as well as being comfortable. Uh, it's essential to handle the gun before buying it to ensure it feels comfortable in your hand. Wow. Try before you buy. Touch the pistol. At least get to touch it. Bass Pro Shop, shame on you if you are not taking uh, uh, the safety straps off these things and let students touch them or feel them. I mean, that's shame on the student too. She should have known better, but maybe she didn't know that. So you can't blame a newbie for knowing all the rules and regulations. This is kind of one of those deals. That's what we here for. That's what we train you for. Safety. The ins and outs of going to the range and all that stuff. Those are things we got to do. But proper fit is probably one of those things you gotta really put your head around there and make sure too small of a pistol, not gonna fit guy's hand very well, may not fit mama's hand very well. And the smaller the pistol, the more recoil, which could be a problem for you too. And a lot of the smaller pocket pistols, besides the Ruger Max, which is the 380, a lot of those don't have sights on them. They're just a point and shoot weapon. And so if you're starting out your shooting career, we like to say that because, shooting a pistol, becoming more proficient with a pistol is your job now. It's your job. The boys used to hate when I used to do that. Tell Jacob, or, hey, it's your job, buddy. Get on it. And they'd be looking at me like, I know you wouldn't know what job spells. Come on now. Job. So they hate when I do that, but that's part of the deal. So you comfortable with the weapon, getting comfortable more and more, and then when something scenarious goes on, at least hey, Papa Weasel, welcome, buddy, welcome. Once you've done all that, now you're comfortable enough that you can run the pistol in a muscle memory effect. Think about this, guys. If you drove your vehicle once a year and I dropped you in the busiest city in the middle of the winter, when all the winter residents are here, you'd be a nervous wreck. Or if I take you, pop you into, Tampa, for instance, which they got 20 lanes going one way, 8 lanes going the other. It's just, and they're cutting in and out, and everyone's going probably about 25 miles over the speed limit. It probably wouldn't be the best place for you. So, all right. So, number two is ignoring proper fit. This is kind of important. Number three is buying based on the looks or brand alone. I've been called Glock Boy, I don't know how many times in my life because I did a video about Glocks. Doesn't mean I'm a Glock Boy. I wear my Smith and Wesson hat. I don't have it on today. I've got my blue line guys today, respecting the cops and everything else like that, with a passion of mine. And I want to say thank you to every serviceman out there, as well as the public service guys as well. It's a it not only is that a think about every service person and who are married, the wife suffers just as much as the husband does when they're off on duty. Well, think about the father cop going out to work and opportunity something could go down and they couldn't come home. So you got to thank them for being that's a thankless job. We need to make sure that we thank them as much as possible. I know once in a while I'm at the restaurant, I'll find cops sitting there and I'll buy their dinner or buy their breakfast or whatever it is. It's part of that deal to appreciate. I'm not telling you guys that to get praise, but I want to remind you that without them, where would we be? And I'm sure that there are some bad eggs in every business, but majority of the time, those guys that are public service and like that, they're doing it because it's a passion of theirs. So make sure if you see a cop, think a cop. See a cop, think a cop. That's the important thing there. Glock, Smith, Taurus, Ruger. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you what I would. Well, I will tell you because I'm a Smith guy. I think Smith and Wesson's got the best of everything. I think they're easy or the equalizer are the two that I would highly recommend if someone's looking for a new pistol right now. If you came to me and I treat you all like family, you understand. So you've got a brother-in-law in the business, but the brother-in-law you like. Does that make sense? And I want to make sure that you understand I would never steer you wrong. If you like Glock, then get a Glock. If you have a Glock 19, right? I would highly recommend you look at a Glock 43X for a carry piece because they're the same trigger, you see? So you're not introducing a different trigger, but there's no weapon in the home at all. I would highly recommend you look at Smith and Wesson first. One, price point. Two, American made. Three, after 2.5 years or 3 years of the equalizer, I can tell you that is a tax driver. Majority of the students that are shooting the equalizer or shooting the EZ now, or they love them. I mean, I as a firearms instructor, I like to think it's all me. It's all me. Take an 86-year-old woman, put her out at 15 yards, and she's stacking quarters with that equalizer. That's okay. I'm not going to pick on the 86-year-old because she was a great shooter, but the gun itself helps her make a great shooter. What manipulates the pistol? Grip, stance, and trigger engagement. And when you have a good trigger, take a Glock trigger and a Smith trigger and begin to apply pressure very slowly. You will feel the Glock's trigger loads. It loads and it gets heavier and heavier and heavier until the weapon cuts, whereas Smith is a smooth, gradual pop and the weapon goes off. Anything that we have to do to drag that pistol back is going to affect the front post from staying level. So I'm not going to say there's one pistol better than the other, but Smith and Wesson. That's what I would tell you. That's my whole deal. And I'm not a Glock guy. And then money wise, I it's kind of funny to me to think about somebody looking at something like one of my pet peeves is nowadays the manufacturers, which Smith and Wesson doesn't do this, but some of the manufacturers, Hellcats, the Sig 365, uh, Glock, even some of the stuff Glock does. Now, Smith has a few optic ready, already installed on the gun, ready to be shot. I see a lot of people buying these Hellcats and these 365s for their very first pistol with no, hey Matt, how you doing, buddy? Very first pistol, and they've never shot a red dot before, and they have to learn the red dot and how to shoot the pistol and put it all together. I'll be honest with you, I try to give them a pistol without a red dot on it first if I can, if that's the pistol. Majority of the time, if the student hasn't been able to find or be able to consistently find the red dot, it's very hard for them to get the most out of the class. Most out of the class when they're trying to learn the red dot and the grip. Tip on a red dot. This is the best thing I can give you. Once you're able to pick it up and see it with both eyes open, you don't close an eye to look at it, you both eyes open. And once you're able to get it up in your face like that each time, each time, each time, I want you to focus on the target and let the dot float. Too many people try to put the dot on the target and they're moving their hand and their eyes together. You're never going to find it. And there becomes our problem with it. Red in high sunshine, you're never going to see it. It blondes out. Number two, green's better in low light conditions and in bright sunlight, but you still have to find it in a high stress situation. If you watch most of your YouTube videos on the cop shooting at the bad guy, it's pretty hard visually to see all that stuff in a high defensive situation. Remember, your body is wants to survive anything like that. So it's going to shut down anything it deems unnecessary to get you through the battle. And that could be tunnel vision, that could be dexterity issues, that could be mobility of the hands. There's a lot of different stuff your body just shuts off. It doesn't even know. That's why when you get in a situation like a car accident, your body shuts you down a little bit. Remember how the last car accident you were in? Hopefully, never. But if you were in one, I remember being in a couple. I can tell you that it went very slowly. You didn't even understand what was happening until it was all over with. So it was kind of one of those freaky little deals there. And that's just part of that whole time continuous thing that it works for us. So, uh, buying based on looks or brand alone. This is number three. Number four is overlooking training and practice. Say no more. You know, if you have a weapon, you got to practice. I haven't heard it in a while, but we are starting to see a lot more people looking at what's happening in the market nowadays and seeing what's coming in the future. By the way, you better watch that debate tonight, guys. I know it's boring and I know you need to see it, but if you can watch that debate or copy that debate or videotape that debate and get your friends and family to watch it, it's going to educate them an awful lot this evening. I don't believe she's not. She's not going to be coming out of this smelling like a rose. I'll tell you that. If we can keep old T Boy from freaking out a little bit, and and just based on hey, based on the border, based on our wallets, based on everything else, it's kind of important this evening. Make sure you watch that, guys. Uh, overlooking training. One of the most important things to do when they build a house. They're building a house behind my house right now, which I'm very disappointed on. I've never had. I had the house next door built to me, which was kind of a. And then I got the one behind me. We had owls in our back when here in Cape Coral. They were supposed to be protected. They came over and plowed them over and filled up the void, and they're building a house right now behind me. And you know what? They always start a house with. You know that house started with roof first. No, it didn't. They built the foundation. They brought a bunch of dirt in and they put a good foundation out. And this is the thing about either watching a video or taking a training class. There are plenty of playlists on my YouTube channel alone that would make you a better shooter 100% guaranteed. Guaranteed you'd be a better shooter by the end of the day. I wrote two books for you guys. One is the Why I Shoot Low and Left, which is a very common thing, which is on our webpage, and then the 10 Secrets from a Firearms Instructor. That's a free book, guys. That you can get right from our website as well, and those will give you some great tips to start your shooting career. But if you think you're going to buy a pistol, take it to the range and figure it all out and can't understand why the bullets. I love going back on a Saturday and I watch through the cameras a lot and I go back once in a while. When I'm seeing women are leaning back or men who are got some weird grip going on and we're able to help them out with that. But there's I mentioned before, shooting is not complicated, it's complex, and it's the little things that make you a better shooter, not the big things. You know, if you get yourself in a position where you're able to control it, hold it, control it, press it, and repeat it, you're going to be a better shooter every day. You know, too many people get caught up on bullseyes. We don't find a lot of women who are competitive, but there is that streak of women that are. So we have to stop them from being so competitive about themselves. And remember, a vital triangle starts at shoulders to groin, and we just got to make sure that we're consistently hitting those impacts and extending our distances once we complete the 3 yards, go to 5 yards, go to 7 yards, go to 10 yards, and on until you feel you are confident on shooting. All right. Overlooking practice was number four, and number five was not considering carrying concealed. A lot of guys, and this is me too. Years ago, when I first started carrying, what I want to carry a Glock 19 with 15 rounds with two magazines and three in my pocket, and I'm carrying 37 rounds and two magazines, and it just got to be a point where, oh my god, dude, it's you know, can a Glock 19 be carried? Yes, 100%. Is it comfortable to carry it every day? Absolutely not. It's not fun at all. Can you find the right pistol that can do all three? Yeah, some of these 3.1s, the 3.65s, the 3.1 inch barrels, the 4 inch barrels, all those things are good. It's just got to find the one that's going to fit you, and then figure out which weapon's going to be best for you. A lot of these people want to carry these uh, red dots and everything. That's getting the right holster for it and finding out what's going to work for you. I'll be honest with you, the moment I started carrying Jacob, my baby boy, turned 21, he he accommodated a pistol here at the store. I gave him a Ruger Max, and he's been carrying. If he's got the big joke of my dad when I was a kid is I always asking for a pocket. Dad, you got your pocket knife on you? He goes, got my pants on, don't I? So that was my dad's favorite thing, and so Jacob now, I always ask him, "You got your you got your gun on, though?" He goes, so I said, "I got my shorts on, don't I?" So he's always wearing his shorts. So that's what I started doing. I started carrying. I carry a Diamondback 9 millimeter DB9, 7 rounds of 9 millimeter in my pocket, and since I started doing that, it's a lot easier. I just pull my pants up, it's in my pocket, I'm ready to rock and roll. Now, am I going to get into a big gunfight with that? Absolutely not. Could it get me out of a dangerous situation pretty quick? 100%. And that's what it's all about. Chances of you putting out 6, 8, 10, 15 rounds in a situation like that, I don't think it'll happen. I think it's going to be one of those things. But I know for a fact I don't. If I need more than 5 rounds, I'm in the wrong gunfight, guys. I'm in the wrong gunfight, and obviously we'd like to think that we can handle almost anything. But your best scenario of anything is the three E's, and the three E's are evade, escape, or engage. Engage is always last, not first. We're using this weapon to get out of trouble, not to get in trouble. That makes sense. All right. And then, consider what you're going to do. You're buying a Derringer. A lot of these people go to this gun show. I tell you what, guys, when I put Derringers on my table, and I sell Derringers, and as a person who looks at people and tries to educate them with everything, there is no good Derringers on the market. That is a gun you have to cock, then fire, and then cock it again, then fire it again, and it's just it's a gimmick. It's fun. But I wouldn't consider it a gun. Now, obviously, nothing or that. I guess we'll take it, right? But it's just not. But if people buy those Derringers on a regular basis, we get a lot of them. People trading back in because it's the worst when it comes down to defensive situations. Because when shit hits the fan, it's gonna hit the fan now. You can't ask the bad guy, wait a minute while I get my weapon out, or wait a minute, let me rack my slide before I get in this gunfight because I don't have enough training on the gun to realize that I have to have a round in the chamber to save my life. How many cops you think are all over the United States that are waiting to Barney Fife in it? They got a bullet in their pocket and are not allowed to pull the gun and load the bullet in until they know they absolutely, positively, 100% need the bullet. That's not happening, guys. They can't do that because they never know when they're going to need it. They carry a weapon for their protection, right? Not your protection, their protection. Your job is to carry a weapon for your protection, but the cops themselves carry a gun for their protection, and the weapon has to be loaded to save their life, if that makes sense. All right. Number number 6 was focusing too much on price. This is kind of one of those, some people are cheap, guys. I mean, what's crazy about this more than anything else, and I've caught a couple guys doing this, and if the wives ever knew, they'd be in big freaking trouble, right? So the guy comes in and buys himself an MOS Glock 19, right? Okay, so 550, and then he puts on a Holosun green solar, which is another 280 bucks. So now he's got himself this really nice, cool pistol, and he ends up getting his wife a Sky. He gets his wife a $200 Sky. And his comment is, well, she's not going to use it. She wants it, but she's not going to use it. So why would I? But if she ever knew that he spent $900 on himself for a pistol, and then she got a $200 pistol, she probably would be upset a little bit. So I can tell you, there are guys. A couple weeks ago, I told you about our uh, our league night. So this guy shows up with this $3,000 1911, and it has a red dot on it. And he brings it in and he goes, I haven't shot this yet, but I just bought it and I want to sight my red dot in. And I went back there and I helped him. Well, it was 5, 6, 8, 10 shots. We were pretty good, pretty tight group. And, you know, it's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. That's a 1911. It's supposed to be a nice trigger, anyways, right? Those are single action pistols. And then halfway through the night, he's pulling. He's pulling the trigger, pulling the trigger, and the bullets are dumping. And he goes, "You think this red dot's off?" I go, "No, I don't think so. I think I did pretty well with it. I was shooting okay with it." He goes, "Hey, everything seems to be going low and left." And I kind of looked at him and I said, "What are you saying?" He goes, "I think the dot moved." I go, "You think so?" And I grabbed the whole of that pistol and I put five right where I was aiming and right where that dot was. And I said, "You need to stop pulling the trigger and just press the trigger." And he goes, "You would think," that's what he said, "you would think the money I paid for this gun that it would be more accurate." And I said to him, and I quote, "That gun is accurate. It's you that have the problem." And he didn't like that at all. But you think the pistol, it doesn't matter if you take uh, a $200 gun or a $5,000 gun. If we put them in vices and we use actuators to engage the trigger, which means no human touch in actuators, and we're shooting the same bullets, they're going to be in the same hole. The firearm is the firearm. Now, some manufacturers spend a lot more money on name brand and all that stuff. Other manufacturers don't. I can tell you, Taurus, phenomenal product. It's not the most expensive gun in the world. It doesn't have the greatest trigger in the world, but very desirable, very user friendly. Triggers, you're not going to have a trigger problem with them. Put the Taurus against a Glock. The Glock's trigger is going to be stiffer, tighter, harder to rack. So there's a lot of different stuff. Money does not make the gun better or worse. It's just what you can afford. Now, that being said, I'm not into let me buy a pistol to get started with and then upgrade once I've figured out what I'm doing. Because I think that is worse because now you're trying to figure out this crappy pistol versus a better pistol. How about we go in the middle somewhere and we buy just enough gun that it's going to work for us? Like, for instance, we look at a let's look at a G3C from Taurus. Somewhere between 270, 280 to 310. All right, according where you are in the United States or whatever. Now, for an extra $100, Could we get something a little better that would work for us a little bit better? Yes, like the Shield Plus or the EZ or one of those other things like that. Uh, Compared to if I just go cheaper, it's always going to be cheaper. Does that make sense? And stop thinking about I'm going to buy a car gun. The car gun, I don't want it to be too expensive because I'm going to leave in the car. If you're leaving firearms in your car, shame on you. Every night, those guns need to come out of the car and be put away. Majority of the time, a gun is stolen from an unlocked car. And keep in mind, civilly, if that gun is used in a crime scene or anything else like that, you could be criminally charged. This kid who shot up that school, the dad gave him or let him use that AR-15, and they arrested him and took him into court and they're charging him for manslaughter because his son used the AR at school. So be careful leaving guns in cars. God forbid anything happened and that gun got use and was out in the world. You could be attached to that if you left the gun unattended. Now, normally nothing happens like that in Florida, but it surely could. You never know. So price is not everything, guys. Neglecting accessories. These are kind of deals. New gunners offer forget the cost of essential accessories like earmuffs and eyewear and things like that, or a loader to load your magazines. Now, I'm all about using a loader when you're putting 15 or 20 rounds in the gun for home defense, but I don't think you should count on the loader. You need to figure out how to thumb load a gun. If you can't thumb load a gun, there are plenty of videos to teach you how the cross method or the pass dispenser method. Uh, Magazines themselves will load as they start breaking in, but there are a lot of manufacturers out there that have very, very stiff magazines. That's another reason why I like Taurus. That's another reason why I Glock, Smith and Wesson, all three of those if you stick to a low round count, which I've already told you guys many, many times, when you're at the range, you need to shoot 5 rounds or less each time. There's no reason to fill a gun up with 15 or 20 rounds and waste all that ammo. Because keep in mind, you're along for the ride after that fifth round. You can control the weapon, I can control the weapon through 5 shots. When I get to past five is six, seven, eight, nine. That's when they're up. That's when they're down. That's when they're left. That's when they're right. Because you're losing your grip, losing your control. Women, especially because there's no muscles here, ladies. So you got to use your back muscles to control this weapon. And we start teaching you back muscle drills to run these weapons. Or gentlemen, your pecs are going to control the weapon. Uh, when you start doing your pec drills, uh, it gets fatiguing. If it's not fatiguing for you, you're letting that gun run without you controlling it. You should have some power behind that weapon, and you should feel a tad fatigued when you leave the range. I'm not saying be out of breath, but a tad fatigued, or you're not doing something right. You don't need to muscle a gun; you need to control a gun. And I'll probably do a video on that next week in regards to how to control a weapon properly for men and women, which will in turn increase your accuracy. All right, ignoring local laws and restrictions. You don't know them, you don't know them. But the problem with Florida is nowadays is with this new permitless carry they're using at this point in time. The sheriff's department, the police department, the highway patrolmen, they're all not listening to any kind of bullshit you're going to tell them that you didn't know that law. When you have that concealed carry permit in your hand, you know better already. And they're assuming that if you're carrying a gun, you're not ignorant to the fact of the laws and regulation. Never forget, guys, that in Florida, we are the gunshine state, but we are held to a higher standard in Florida than any other place because all of our handgun laws can be considered a felony and they're either first, second, or third degree. And majority of people think I'm just going to buy a gun and carry it. But there's a lot of different stuff with the constitutional carry or the permitless carry that you do not get when you get more with the concealed than you do the permitless carry. One example is those signs on doors. Any sign on a door in the state of Florida that says no loaded firearms, if you do not have your concealed carry, you are breaking the law entering one of those establishments with a firearm on you. Now, when you have your concealed, it's a pending to the store, and your concealed gives you entry in those places. Now, if the management of that place sees your firearm and asks you to leave, you must leave at that point in time. But how would they know if you had a firearm and you if you didn't show it? So that's kind of the deal. But you get caught and you don't have your concealed, you put yourself in a bad position at that point in time. There's a lot of different laws, like carrying in church. When you have your concealed, doesn't matter what the church thinks. You can carry concealed in church because you have your concealed carry license. But they did write a statute that if you don't have your concealed, you cannot carry in church. So keep that in mind. All right, laws, restrictions, and regulations are your responsibility. Some buyers don't fully do research on firearm laws and restrictions in states, landing the complications when purchasing or carrying a gun. Yeah, yeah. I mean, people think because they are here, they can buy. People think because they have the Florida concealed. You could have your Florida concealed and not live in Florida, be in Florida, or even come to Florida. But the moment they get here, they think because they have the Florida concealed they can buy. No, you gotta be a Florida resident or you have to own property in Florida, which means a brick and mortar home to purchase in Florida. Uh, just because you have your concealed doesn't allow you to purchase if you don't live or because Florida allows non-residents to get their concealed in Florida. Yeah, number 9 would be testing or buying a gun without testing it first. This is a lot of pawn shop stuff. There's many people go to pawn shops and buy firearms. Now, listen to me. I'm sure there are plenty of pawn shops in town that have the ability to look at a pistol and say, "Yeah, it's okay." But majority of the time, if you're buying a used piece, you're buying a used piece. Last weekend, I was doing a small gun show. And that small gun show does have a few private dealers. A private dealer is not a gun store. They are a private individual that technically brings firearms into these shows to sell them to individuals without doing a background check. Now, I personally don't like that. I think people should go through, but a lot of people think the big guys are watching and blah blah. They want to buy guns that are unregistered. Well, Florida doesn't have registration, but this happens in some of the gun shows. The big gun shows we go to, there is no private sales. The little ones, once in a while, there's some private sales. In other words, someone can walk in with a gun and sell it to somebody else at a gun show. It's allowed. That's part of that deal. It's Florida. It's no loophole thing. It's just part of it. So these people always ask, "Are you a dealer? Or are you a private seller?" And I always say, "I'm a dealer." But when I do tell them, by the way, let me just explain to you something real quick. If you're buying a gun off a table in here from a private seller, you don't know where that private seller got that gun. And if you're buying a pistol and you receive it from somebody and you get caught with it, Florida doesn't have anything called a registration, but they have a stolen gun registry. And if you're buying a gun off a table, you don't know where it came from. And if you pay that guy money for that, that is your piece now. And most likely in that scenario where cash is changing hands, you don't even know who that guy is. And now you get driving down the road, get stopped by a cop, and you have a stolen gun in your possession. Now you could go through the whole explaining where you got it, blah blah blah. That doesn't matter, guys. You got the gun in your hands. So anytime you can buy a pistol from a gun store or order a gun online and have it shipped to a gun store, the better off you're going to be unless you absolutely positively know the person and where it is and everything else. If you're selling a gun to somebody, you need to make sure you have as much information about that person that you're buying it, right? So always test. Make it first times. Don't try renting or shooting a similar model before buying it. It's important to test out different models at the range to find out the one that fits you. Now, here's my problem with people renting firearms at ranges. Now, we don't rent. We don't rent firearms. We actually do training classes. It's very our insurance is crazy as it is, and we get a lot of people from Germany and all those places like that that come on holiday and want to shoot a pistol. So I put together a class for these guys. We take their picture, we let them shoot a rifle. We have T-shirts that that they can buy and all that stuff. It's sort of like their little Disney World because they don't get to do it much anywhere else. Great and wonderful, beautiful. To get some guy to come up here and rent a gun that doesn't know anything about firearms is just too dangerous for us. So we end up doing a lot of different stuff. But there are places that rent firearms. No big deal. But if you don't know how to hold it, grip it, control it, and then you're trying each one of those, but you're getting different grip from each one, wouldn't it be better to learn how to hold the pistol, shoot the pistol, and be comfortable with it? Prior Mario, what's up, buddy? Glad you're here, pal. Uh, before you buy one, that way you can put apples to apples. Does that make sense? If I'm gripping the one gun one way and this gun that way and that gun that way, how are you making a decision? It's like if you wear a pair of 8 shoes and you're trying on a pair of 12s, a 13, and a 15. Which one's going to fit you better? They're not. It's got to fit you more ways than one. All right. So buying without testing it, and that's secondary thing as much as we talked about buying a gun. But if you're buying one from a pawn shop or anything else like that, you don't know if it works either. So keep that in mind. And most of the pawn shops don't have gun ranges. And once you've paid for it and you take it to the range and you shoot it, what's the pawn shop going to do? Well, it worked before you left here. How they know that? They're buying it. They're buying guns. They don't even know they work. Because most of them can't fire it before they buy it from anybody. They just assume it's gonna work. Firing pin works, it's fine. We have people come in here all the time. We're able to take the gun back and shoot it in our range before we even pay for a pistol, just to make sure it works. No firing pin issues, no jamming issues or anything else like that. 'Cause I live here. I don't want to buy a gun that has jamming issues, or it's got a firing pin issue or something like that. That's not something we do. Too much stuff can happen, when you buy a used pistol. Uh, and then number 10 is, not understanding all the safety that comes with a pistol. Too many people think a safety is going to save my life. And, there are guns that have, like, take the Ruger LC9S. Sold one of those last week to a couple. Teal, silver. She loved it. It was what she wanted. She picked it out, fit her hand. That's the safest gun on the market. It's got a wall safety, that's the one that's on the top of the gun. It's got a trigger safety, which is on the trigger itself. It's got a magazine disconnect. There's 3 safeties on that gun. Magazine disconnect. If I take that magazine out of the weapon, it will not fire. You could give that loaded gun to a kid, one in the chamber, he could pull the trigger all he wants. It's never going to fire. The problem with all that stuff, let's say you were shooting that pistol and you hit the mag release on accident. The mag fell, but did not fall out of the gun. It's stuck in there. Now you've got a gun that won't fire. Now, how's that going to save your life? And keep in mind, if a safety is your clutch or crutch, fine, it's wonderful. But if you're going to buy a gun with a safety, you need to manipulate that safety every time you touch the pistol. Because in a high stress situation, if you put the safety on this time, because the grandchildren are coming over, and you put it up in the corner, oh, high up there where they can't get to it, and then now 2 weeks later, bad guys coming through the living room, and the safety's on the gun, and you forgot you put it on there, or vice versa. You're not very up on the safety thing, not safety thing, so you keep the safety on the gun all the time, and then somehow or another the safety got hit off, and now you've got your finger on that trigger because you think the safety's going to save you. You want me to show you what safety is, guys? Finger off trigger. You are the safety. No mechanical weapon, no mechanical safety can save your life. You keeping your finger off the trigger. There are certain weapons that need safeties. 1911s, backstrap safety, wall safety. That's on there. Boom, done. Shotguns, safety, definitely. Rifles, safety, definitely. Handguns, I don't think you need them. I don't think you need those. And revolvers don't have safeties. If you're so wrapped up, I gotta have a safety with a gun. Very few route. Well, there is a 22 revolver that has a safety on it. Well, here single action, but most majority of them do not have safety. Safety is not a safety. It's a crutch that you're using that you're thinking about buying. So too many newbies want to buy a gun with a safety because the safety is going to save them. Which technically, if you don't manipulate all the time, could get you hurt. Could get you hurt because you may forget it at a certain time. 10 of those babies, 10 of those babies. Avoiding these pitfalls can help a new firearm owner make more informed and satisfactory purchasing. Buying your first pistol is a significant decision, and avoiding common mistakes can make the world of difference in your experience as a new firearm owner. By focus on the right caliber, the proper fit, and even prioritizing safety and training, you will not only make a purchase that you can be confident in, but also develop skills needed for responsible gun ownerships. Remember, investing time in research and practicing will pay off in the long run, leading you to a better shooting experience, greater peace of mind, and choosing wisely, stay informed, and always prioritize safety above all else. Well, there it is, guys. The common mistakes made by new gun owners. I hope that that helped you find everything that you obviously making the decision to purchase. We're always here available for you. We are a gun range in Cape Coral, Florida. We are open 7 days a week for your convenience. We are open Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, we are open all day for range time. Monday through Thursday, we are open from 1 o'clock to close, which is 7 p.m. for range time. And we have memberships, we have all kinds of stuff, and we specialize in you. Hope everything went well this evening. Hope you're having a great September. It's been kind of hot. We're kind of I get up at 5 o'clock every morning and do my walking. It was beautiful that time of morning. But it's still hot walking there. We walk 3 miles a day. Uh, get up, get out, and enjoy the life. Life's too short to stay inside. Find yourself something you'd love to do, whether it be shooting, fishing, hunting, or any sport like that, and get out and enjoy it. If you have family and children, get them out of the house, get them shooting, get them hunting, get them fishing, or just getting out walking and having fun. It's better off than staying in the house. Get them off those machines and get more time outside. I know it's hot. I realize it. but sooner or later we won't have the time to do it. Don't forget the world is our oyster. We need to make sure that we're controlling it. Jim, how you doing, buddy? I hope you're doing wonderful. Jim's from Vermont. Him and his wife came to see me a while back when they went to Disney World. We appreciate you very much. Let's go ahead and say goodbye to a couple people here. Aaron, thank you very much this evening for joining us. I miss you, buddy. Come by and see us. Hope your business is doing well. Papa Weasel, as always, my friend. God bless you. Matt Harville, hope you're doing wonderful, wonderful, and your mom and dad are doing wonderful. Tell them I said hello. Jay Mario, thank you, buddy. I'm glad you came by. And Jim, good night, buddy. Have a great evening. Wish me luck, guys. This weekend is opening day of archery season. And if you spend next week sometime, I'll be showing you a little bit of the videos that we're going to do. I got 4 or 5 hunts we're coming up with, and we're going to be doing this archery thing all month. And I'm going to be doing some videos showing you that stuff. And then watch for our newest video on targets and how to control a weapon. That's coming up next week. And if you have anything you would like me to do a video on or any kind of ideas, I would surely love to hear. My job is to support you and help you very much and help you be succeed in becoming a better shooter. One last thing, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that bell icon, and that like. And every time we upload a video or do one of these lives, you'll be first to know something's happening to our subscribership. Um, I'm not sure it's a furious, but something's happened, and some people get described, unsubscribed for some reason or another once in a while. So some people have to always hit it on a regular basis. Then I want to make sure you hit it again. Until next time, guys, God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line of defense. I love you guys very much. You mean the world to me. Good night, folks.